Cristiano Ronaldo versus Kylian Mbappe. It's almost fell in our lap. Now you could say which would you prefer to come to Manchester United, but it's far bigger than that. There's a depth to Manchester United support, as many of you know. There's certainly a depth to the United stand when we get these debates going. Kylian Mbappe versus Cristiano Ronaldo. Yes, it's sensationalist. Yes, it's fell into our lap because Ronaldo was brilliant last night, 100 Champions League goals. Mbappe was brilliant tonight for Monaco, getting them into the Champions League semi-finals. The young starlet against the man who's coming, well, he's still at the top, isn't he? But I think it just typifies Manchester United that anything could happen. Now, it's very realistic to say that we wouldn't sign either, but anything could happen at Manchester United. If Zlatan goes experience, do you replace him with youth like Mbappe, or do you try and replace him with somebody experienced like Cristiano Ronaldo? So I think it's a perfect debate to have. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo, the youth star at Manchester United who went off to Real Madrid and fulfilled that great potential that he had at United. Mbappe just starting his journey out. What would you go for? What do you go for? Do you go for that exciting youth talent, or do you go for that man at the top of his game that you know if he came to Manchester United he would be top scorer for the next 2 years? Again, I'm not saying we're going to sign either of these players, but I think Manchester United face that choice yearly, daily and currently. Youth or experience. Which would you go for? What would be the better option? Whether it's Manchester United or a club you're managing on FIFA, or you support somebody else, which would you go for? Kylian Mbappe or Cristiano Ronaldo? And like I say, the brilliance of it is that it's just very relevant at the moment, but it's also, I think it's certainly a divider, and it's one I want to get into with all you lot as well. But is there a right answer? Is there a wrong answer? I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo, I think Barcelona, well, I know Barcelona justice served at last that UEFA couldn't get them out of that hole. Juventus didn't even concede in the new camp, and tonight showed what I think it should probably show a lot of people what I've been saying for a long time, and a lot of other people have been saying, why I would always pick Cristiano Ronaldo in my team over Lionel Messi. I don't really want to get into the debate about who's the better player. I can understand why people would say Messi's the more talented footballer, and I would concede that, but I still wouldn't put him in my team, because when the going gets tough and you need goals, Ronaldo 9 times out of 10 steps up to the plate and scores those goals. We will add a poll in, Callum Smith. That's a very good idea. We will do that, but we're alive at the moment. And that is why I would have Ronaldo in my team, because I want to win, I want to score goals, and Ronaldo steps up to the plate more than Messi does. I mean, Messi's not a bad second, is he? And I know a lot of people would say, I prefer Messi, but Ronaldo is a phenom. He's the phenom. He's the Undertaker of football. He is just phenomenal, and he doesn't seem to age, and he keeps going and going and going, and he keeps breaking records. And one day that winning streak will come to. I've got to start talking about WWE, because if you don't know what I'm on about, then you won't know what I'm on about. But that streak will come to an end at some point, and we will look back on Ronaldo and Messi and say what they're not just world class, they're universe class, the pair of them. But what would you go for? What would you go for out of the two? Kylian Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo. What do they offer? Well, to be honest, I think if you're talking next season, because that's where it would be if either of them do move, Ronaldo would come into a Manchester United side or whatever side, and I would think he would score you in the Premier League. I think he'd score you 40 goals, no problem. I do think he is still that good. He's not the player that we remember him anymore. He's not the quick, skillful player that he was. He's still skillful and he's still quite quick, but he's much more of a finisher. He's much more of a forward. He could play the position that Zlatan plays quite comfortably. And the great thing about Ronaldo is he's quick. He is quicker than Zlatan, considerably quicker than Zlatan, but he's also very, very good in the air, very physical. I mean, to be honest, if Zlatan decided to go and there was any, I mean, we're talking about the best player in the world in Ronaldo, so why would Manchester United be able to get him? I don't think we can get him, but if you're talking about somebody to come in and do the Zlatan job, that's going to give you the pace in the channels, that's going to give you the speed in the box, that's going to give you the physicality and the height and aerial ability, then Ronaldo would be that perfect person for 2 years. Maybe longer. I mean, is he 32, 31, 32? I mean, Zlatan's 35. If you think Zlatan looks after himself, Ronaldo definitely does as well. So I think, Ronaldo would be an absolutely sensational signing for anybody, certainly for Manchester United, and experience in abundance. A perfect fit replacement for a Zlatan. And remember, we're not talking necessarily about Ronaldo coming to United here. We're talking about that experience over what Mbappe would give you, which is just 18 in December. Absolutely ripping it up, tearing it up, exciting, quick, skillful, clinical. Does remind me of Thierry Henry and his plump. Not Thierry Henry at 18, because Thierry Henry at 18 was worse than Martial or Rashford at 18. He wasn't a fantastic player at 18 at all. In fact, I remember United playing Monaco. I remember him at Juventus. He wasn't very good at all. And Arsenal, he didn't hit the ground running. I think Henry really only started to hit top talent when he about 23, wasn't it? So Mbappe is streets ahead of what Thierry Henry was, but I can see why people sort of compare him, because he has got that sort of slouch or physique on the ball. That movement is very reminiscent of an Henry, and he's plump. So I've got no doubts that Mbappe will be a fantastic world-class talent, and I understand why a lot of people would want him to come to Manchester United. But a lot of you would say, well, experience over youth, we can't have too much youth because we've got Martial, we've got Rashford. And let's not forget, in the case of Mbappe, he is somebody that Manchester United are after, if you believe what Marzio says. And I would say, why would you not believe what Marzio says? He's not one of those journalists who just comes out with, like, tomorrow Manchester United are after Harry Kane. He wouldn't do that. He doesn't do the sensationalist clickbait stuff. When Marzio talks about Manchester United, it tends to be very accurate, like it was last summer with Pogba and Zlatan and Mkhitaryan. And people talk about these other pretenders who apparently predicted these deals weeks ahead. I would argue that they probably read what Marzio was saying, because Marzio is the only one I know who accurately predicted Pogba and Zlatan and Mkhitaryan weeks ahead of anybody else. He didn't get Bay, but I'm not saying he gets everything. But with Mbappe, he did say that Mourinho is in love with him, and they would love him at Manchester United. So who knows? Fire Squad World says, what's the reason of this show? Well, it's double-edged, really, Fire Squad World. It is very topical. Ronaldo versus Mbappe. Who would you want in your team? We know we get people from other clubs watching. They may want to get involved in that debate as well. But the depth to the conversation is, and you can take it literally as Ronaldo versus Mbappe, who would you want at your club? Who would you want at Manchester United? But the depth to it for us United supporters is that if Zlatan was to leave in the summer, then we have a decision to make. Well, not us as fans, Mourinho does. Do you go with experience? Do you go with youth in your replacement? Now, assuming, as I was saying on the show earlier, do you give that a watch? Plug. Griezmann replaces Rooney. Griezmann doesn't replace our striker. If Zlatan stays, it's irrelevant. If Zlatan goes, we need to replace Zlatan. What do you go for? What do you want us to go for? Do you want us to go for Mbappe like the rumours suggest we would? Or would you want us to go for a more experienced striker? Ronaldo was probably a bit of a pipe dream, but a more experienced striker, somebody, late 20s, of which I would say, who is there out there? I mean, the ideal would be Ronaldo. I'll give you my personal opinion now. If Zlatan Ibrahimovic left Manchester United this June, and we were offered, or we had a choice, and they were going to come, Mbappe or Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester United, there's no hesitation in me. It's Cristiano Ronaldo every single day of the week and Sunday. Now, people can disagree with it, and I would respect that disagreement. I would say, you know what? I really like the look of Mbappe. I think he's a fantastic talent. I'd love to see him at Manchester United with the likes of Rashford and Martial, and how exciting that would be. But Cristiano Ronaldo would come into Manchester United. He's experienced. He's won absolutely everything in the game. He knows how to conduct himself. He knows what everything's about. He's a master of the game. He would come into this team and he would win us the Premier League next year, and he would probably get us quite far in the Champions League as well. So I personally don't understand why nobody wouldn't just go Cristiano Ronaldo. But that's football, that's opinion, and people will have different opinions. Added into that fact, I am a romantic. I love Cristiano Ronaldo. I loved him at Manchester United. And I know it's slightly hypocritical because he did push to leave and he did want to go. But I've never had a bad feeling towards him. I was gutted when he left. Fantastic player. For those of us who were lucky enough to see him live at Old Trafford and around the country when he was at Manchester United. And I know a lot of you probably weren't even old enough to remember seeing him even on the telly and stuff like that. He was just... We were a one-man team, but we weren't a one-man team, if that makes sense, because we had a lot of good players, but he was just on a different level. If we had top-class players, like, or world-class players, like, you know, Vidic and Rooney and even Tevez when he was there, you've got a universe player in Ronaldo, and he was absolutely amazing. And if you ever did fantasy Premier League, he got you a hatful of points as well. So it would always be Ronaldo, and it would still be Ronaldo now. In fact, I don't think there is a debate. I personally think it's disrespectful to Ronaldo to say who's better, Ronaldo or Mbappe, because it's Ronaldo every day of the week. But the point of the show, going back to it, was that this is important for Manchester United. It's the age-old question of experience over youth. Would you want a youth player to come into Manchester United like Mbappe, or would you want to go for that experienced player like we did last summer? We went for Zlatan, didn't we? We went for a 1/2 year fix. A lot of people were saying, no, let's not get Zlatan, he's finished. And United fans were saying it. I'm not criticising you. You were saying it, and I can understand why you were saying it, because there was that element of doubt as to why we're signing a 35-year-old. He's only a short fix. Can he do it in the Premier League that is fast-paced, etc., etc.? I wanted us to go for Zlatan because I knew that Zlatan, and I remember having these arguments with mainly not Manchester United fans. They said, I'll bet you all sorts of money he won't score 20 goals. I knew he would, and a lot of Manchester United fans who like Zlatan knew he would, because if you look at Zlatan's career over the last 15 years, wherever he's played, he's a goal every other game man, and he's continued that at Manchester United, and I think that is very important. So if Zlatan leaves Manchester United, of course I, in the benefit of what's best for Manchester United, I'm going to opt for somebody who's going to guarantee his goals. I mean, you could sign Mbappe. We could sign him for 80-90 million pounds. In fact, Drawty messaged me about an hour ago saying that apparently United want to pay 100 million pounds for him. I would have concerns about that. I'd be absolutely ecstatic and excited to ease, but I would also be concerned. What if it didn't work out in the Premier League? What if he had a season like Pogba, where it's like, we know he's going to be a good talent, but it's going to take time. I do understand why people want experience, but if you're asking me if I would want a Romelu Lukaku or a Harry Kane or a Morata over an Mbappe, then I would say no. I would prefer Mbappe. I think it's got to be, if you're going to get an experienced striker. I mean, somebody was messaging me earlier about Huntelaar at Schalke, and I was like, what? I mean, this who Huntelaar? I mean, come on, no. I mean, if we're going to go for him, we may as well get Hernandez back and have him on as the bench player. Let's have a look at some of your comments, because I think I've made my point quite clear. I will add a poll. That's a really good idea. Avatar says I would love Ronaldo in a United shirt. Liquid Hill says Real won't sell to us because of De Gea. I agree, but what if De Gea goes to Real Madrid? You've also got to remember that I don't think Mourinho and Ronaldo have the best of relationships, to be honest, even though they have the same agent, which, Louise, Mbappe will get better with age like a fine wine. In 10 years' time, Mbappe we might look at and say he's better than Ronaldo. I doubt it. I think what will happen over the next 10, 20, 30 years as we watch football, as we all will, obviously Ronaldo and Messi will retire. And that makes me feel sad to think that will happen, because I think over the next 20, 30 years, we won't see a player of Messi or Ronaldo's quality, probably for about another 30 years, because they're not just world class. Like I say, they're on a different level. And I think Mbappe probably will be world class, but I'd be surprised if he's up that level. They have been absolute, superstars. If Ronaldo is a United legend, then Rooney always has to come in for it, doesn't he? No, I'm not talking about United legends. What I'm saying is that Ronaldo, screw that. We're not saying United legends. What I'm saying is Ronaldo absolutely destroys what Rooney was as a player for Manchester United. Not what they've achieved, although you could argue that Ronaldo achieved more in his short time than Rooney. The reality is Rooney doesn't measure up to Ronaldo as a footballer, even in Manchester United. And I witnessed it, and anybody who did witness it, Ronaldo was on a different level, because Ronaldo single-handedly won us games. Rooney had blitz of seasons where he used to score a lot of goals, but he didn't single-handedly do it all season. And I don't really want to get into that debate anyway. Ronaldo is just on a different level to Rooney, full stop. However, wherever you want to measure it. Legend status, I don't think I've mentioned that. Ronaldo was made in Manchester, Dante Gerrard. I remember him as a kid, and he was far from, you couldn't see this was going to happen. And when he left, he was world class. He was a superstar. So he was made in Manchester. And I don't think Ronaldo disputes that anyway. Alex Black says Mbappe would take Rashford's spot. I disagree. If Zlatan goes, we need another striker. So he doesn't take Rashford's spot. Rashford can't. If Zlatan goes, Rashford can't play all 60 games next season without somebody coming on with it for him as a sub or sharing the load. We need another striker, and it can't just be a reserve. I think we've been light for strikers all season, and I think that's part of the reason we haven't scored. I mean, Mourinho accepts it himself. That's part of the reason we haven't scored many goals this season, is because it's been totally reliant on Zlatan. And Mourinho himself has said, I wish we had a Hernandez, because chucking him on in the last 20 minutes, he would have put some of them chances away. Because Rooney's not stepped up to the plate this year because of injury or loss of form or whatever. We've been light. It's been Zlatan or Rashford all season. We need more. Champions League, Scorpion 1129 Gaming will be a factor in whatever striker we have. I agree. And Belotti's better than Icardi, Darth Vader. Well, maybe we could do those two as well at some point. Lacazette, get lost. Joseph Anderson, he's just a French Jermaine Defoe. No way. Apparently I'm ginger. It's the lighting. I'm not ginger. And even if I was, so what? But I'm not. And Cavani, God, you're making me sick, Ben. You're making me sick. Cavani, God, no. Good point from Callum Smith. Isn't Ronaldo the top scorer for a midfielder in the Premier League, and he hasn't played in the Premier League in years? Yes. People forget that about Ronaldo. He scored, didn't he score 40 goals in a season or something like that? And he was a winger. He wasn't a forward. Unbelievable player. Oh God, people are talking about the legend status. Can't be arsed with that tonight. Really can't. A legend is what you believe it. A United legend is what you want to believe a United legend is. You can't dictate to people who's a legend, and you cannot define it on paper. If someone thinks that they're a legend, they're a legend. Some people think Ever and Vidic are legends. I don't. I think they're very, very good players at Manchester United. Is Rashford clinical enough? Eamon Conway, not quite yet, but he will get there. I'd love to see Ronaldo back in the Premier League. And that would mean Manchester United, because he wouldn't go anywhere. On the flip side, I'd love to see Messi try it somewhere away from Barcelona. He's not going to, by the way. He is going to sign a new contract at Barcelona, for anybody who thought that. I'm glad that Steve thinks I'm strawberry blonde. I'm really not. I was blonde as a kid. I'm not. This is just lighting. I've got very dark brown hair now. Alex Book. Okay, Griezmann. Icardi didn't even make it into the Argentina squad, says Darth Vader. That's because he was knobbing someone's wife. It's nothing to do with ability. 42 goals in a season for Ronaldo, 07-08, all competitions, which is absolutely... I nearly said horrific, because it is absolutely amazing. 31 Premier League goals. And that's for a winger. Very, very George Best-esque Ronaldo was, in fact, in his scoring ability. Monaco were amazing tonight. Monaco or Juventus, I would love to win the Champions League. And somebody asked me this question tonight, which I will leave you with as well. If Juventus win the Champions League, how do you think Pogba's going to feel? You know, we love having Pogba, and we love having him at Manchester United. But if Juventus go and win the Champions League, I'm sure there'll be a little bit in him that thinks, you know what? I wish I'd stayed. You can't begrudge him that. Thanks everyone for watching. This dropped into my head earlier. I've already done the video at 8:30. If you want to go and watch more about transfers and the fact that Manchester United will spend £200 million this summer, and a little bit more in depth, we did talk about Mbappe a bit. Didn't mention Ronaldo because I don't think it's going to happen. But this was something that dropped into my head. Mbappe versus Ronaldo, because one, it's very topical, but two, it's very relevant to Manchester United. It's that age-old youth against experience. And what if Zlatan goes this summer, which I think is quite likely, in light of what Mourinho said in his press conference, which is also in the previous video I've done. do you go for Mbappe, or do you go for someone a little bit more experienced? Real will win it, says Jimmy Hill, which, to be honest, they probably will. Because I tell you what, as a closer, it's probably going to be Ronaldo versus Mbappe, the decider in the Champions League final, and we'll watch it. Manor Gaming wants me to say his name. Please drop a like on the video, everybody. I don't understand why we get a lot of dislikes when we do a debate show. Have your say. Have your say. And I will put the poll up, so revisit later. Mouldy Balls 90, do go back and watch the 8:30 video. I'm going to go and put the poll on now, Callum Smith, so if you want to revisit this video in 10 minutes and cast your vote, I'd be very interested, and we'll talk about it on the watch along, which will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock when the team news comes out. Europa League. Thanks for watching, everybody. Speak tomorrow night on the watch along. Give your comments if you're not watching live. Go and watch the other video at 8:30. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. We are live pretty much every night at 8:30. Thanks everyone for getting involved, and do drop us a like because you made me do this anyway. So thanks everybody for that, and I'll see you tomorrow.